Hey, welcome to part 2 of the community shield match between Arsenal and Man City. We'd seen at the end of part 1 that Odegaard had lost his duel with Akanji. He pulled him by his arm and ended up tripping him. The ref called for a foul. As the game restarts, Kovacic passes the ball to Rodri, who's in a pocket of space. He collects on a half turn and looks up. He can't see any clear passing option, but sees Rice coming towards him. He knows that he is in a 3-on-1 situation here and must get the ball out quickly. And so he begins to turn backwards to use the safe back pass option. Look at Alvarez's match awareness at this end. He notices the gap and the space and drops quickly, expecting Rodri to play him there. But Rodri unfortunately doesn't see him. His mind is set on playing backwards. He does a wee drag back and turns backwards. Kai immediately anticipates a back pass and starts to run. Arsenal's centre backs move to push up the back line as Kai rushes to press Stones, and while the ball is on its way, he scans to check what are Stones' options on this side. Walker, meanwhile, had come inwards as the ball was on that side. Now, as the ball moves towards this side, he starts to get wider to give Stones a pass option. Notice the way he moves, hopping backwards, keeping his orientation to the ball. Alvarez here thinks that Stones is in enough space and time to play an overhead ball in behind. He thinks that Bernardo must be running for it, but realizes that he isn't. He also notices that there is a big gap here and thinks that he can run himself. As he starts to run, he looks back towards Stones to check if he's spotted his run. Their eyes meet and he pulls the trigger. But then he spots Gabriel and realizes that he won't be able to make it. He looks back to check if Stones is playing that ball or not, realizes that he isn't, and breaks his run. Stones too had noticed that though Alvarez is making the run, he won't be able to make it. So there's no use in playing that pass there. Walker's movement is dragging Martinelli wider. Alvarez scans and sees Rodri dropping quickly. He's asking Stones to play to him. Rice scans and sees him move. Rodri knows he will have pressure from behind here, and so he scans to find his first touch options the way he faces. Now, this is the time to notice some brilliant game anticipation by Gabriel. He knows that Alvarez is in space. And when he sees Rodri drop, he notices that there's a gap through which Rodri can send that pass to Alvarez. He also knows that he's his blind side too, so he jumps to try to intercept that pass. But that pass never comes because Rodri hasn't noticed Alvarez due to the pressure from Rice. He chooses to play back with first touch. While the ball is on the way, Stones scans to check the situation on this side. Odegaard also uses this moment to scan and notices that Akanji is in a lot of space on that side. He tells Saka to close him down. Rice scans to check Rodri's position. Stones drops to give a safe pass option on this side. Rice scans that side to check Diaz's playing options there. Then he scans this side to check for his playing options on this side. Diaz turns this way, so he anticipates him to play to this side and checks this side again. Kovacic is in a central position, giving options, but he is close by two Arsenal players. He realizes that he isn't going to get the ball there, and so he moves wider to give an option. As he moves out, a direct passing lane opens to Rodri. Rice notices this immediately and calls on Kai to close him down. You see, while others move, Rodri stays in his place and the space develops around him. That's how Guardiola's pivots are expected to operate. Stay just above the two centre backs and not move around much, unless absolutely required. Kovacic hops sideways and moves wider from behind Odegaard. Rodri immediately reads that he's moving into a passing lane to Akanji. He's not needed there. And so Rodri quickly points out to him to get to that space there. Wow, brilliant match awareness and communication there by him. Party looks back to check the field situation. Kovacic moves up to vacate the passing lane to Akanji. Odegaard too moves to cover him. But instead of moving to that space there, He's again coming to a central position. There's no need for him to come here. Rodri is already here, giving the first pass option. Had he moved there, he would have been in a good position to give a second pass option. Anyway, Diaz is under no pressure. He won't release the ball until the right option emerges. And by holding the ball there, he's provoking Arsenal to jump. The moment they jump, they'll vacate passing lanes in midfield. Okay, we'll come to this in a second. Notice here, Walker, who's the right back, has moved up, but Akanji, who's the left back, has not. Why? Well, that's because Stones is providing the option to Diaz on this side. So Walker is relatively free to move into a more aggressive position, whereas Akanji has to stay back to provide the option on that side. Rodri notices that nothing's happening, so he scans to check Walker's movement. Rice sees Rodri's scan, and so he also scans to read what he was looking at. Odegaard's had enough. He decides to jump and press Diaz. Rodri understands immediately that pressure is building on Diaz and is likely to get the ball from him at any moment. So he scans quickly to confirm Kovacic's position to be able to lay off a pass to him in first touch. Odegaard moves up and adjusts his position as he steadily increases the press. He is trying to build pressure, not to go into first time tackle. Rodri expects Diaz to pass to him now. He quickly hops sideways, keeping himself oriented to the ball, ready to make a first touch pass to Kovacic. Rice reads that it's about to come to Rodri. He thinks he can make a blindside tackle and so charges on. Diaz sees Rice charge. He recognizes the increasing danger of playing to Rodri. So he turns and gets ready to play to Stones. And as soon as he starts to turn this side, Kai anticipates the pass and gets ready to rush to Stones. Diaz passes and immediately turns and drops to provide a safe back pass option to Stones. Martinelli is already thinking where Stones is going to play next. As the ball is on the way, he scans to check for Stones' playing options. Rodri and Rice also scan to check what are the options on this side. Alvarez is again looking to make that killer move. He thinks Stones is again going to receive the ball in enough space and time, and that he has a forward passing option through this gap. So he tries to run in behind through here. Martinelli rushes to get into a straight line with Stones to prevent the possibility of this through pass. Kai scans as he rushes to press. Walker drops to give an option. Stones senses danger from Kai's aggressive rush. Kai is coming on too quickly too, and as the last defender, he has to prioritize safety first. So he collects the ball with a backward turn, and nothing came out of Alvarez's run again. Rodri is coming closer to give an option at the head of the triangle. Stones turns and runs back to keep the ball away from Kai. But he knows that Kai is chasing him from behind and that he must release the ball quickly. So he looks up to find his options. Stones run backwards. Rodri is thinking about where should he move to continue to be at the head of this triangle. He sees Stones take a big touch and so he scans to check Diaz's position. As the ball is still ahead of Stones, he scans this side too. As the ball is coming towards him, Diaz makes a critical scan. Notice that after passing the ball to Diaz, Stones continues to drop to give a safe back pass option on this side. Akanji too is dropping for the same reason. Kai sees that he is the lone man pressing and that Diaz has easy pass options available on either side. He concludes that there's no use pressing now. Stones looks back to check what was it that he missed because of Kai's press, as if rechecking whether Alvarez was really making that run. Diaz collects on back foot with a hop. Since the ball came from this side, he plans to play it to that side, where Akanji is dropping to give an option. There's no pressure on Diaz. He holds the ball, waiting for a good option to emerge. Here we can see Arsenal's game plan clearly. It is to not allow City to play through the middle. Let them pass backwards or sideways. It calls for protecting the midfield at all costs. Nothing's happening with the ball. Rodri scans. As Kai returns back to center, Odegaard starts to jump to increase the pressure on Diaz. Rodri sees that the pressure is increasing on him and drops while scanning to give option for a quick pass. Rice is alarmed when he sees Rodri is going to receive the ball in space. He doesn't want to give him space to turn with the ball. Rodri makes a critical scan and sees him come. He knows he's under pressure and can't turn. So he tries to pull a disguise on Rice. He receives the ball on back foot with a hop as if he's going to take a half turn. But then, rather than turn forward, he pushes the ball backwards, away from danger. Diaz tells him to play backwards. Rodri also knows that he's facing his own goal and with pressure from behind him, he must release the ball quickly. At the moment, Stones seems like a good option. Now Kai can see that Stones is in space. He can't allow him to turn and pick his passes, so he rushes to press him. Walker understands the tight situation and drops quickly to give the safe pass option on this side. Stones feels the pressure from Kai. So rather than opening up forward and playing to Walker, he turns backwards. Rodri immediately senses that Stones will need to play backwards and so he scans to check Ortega's position. Look at Diaz. He's looking forward and hopping backwards, keeping a forward facing profile. Stones evaluates his options. He sees that a direct passing lane to Diaz is blocked by Rodri. Also, if he were to play a little behind Diaz, he'll need to turn backwards to receive the ball. That will make him vulnerable to Odegaard's press from behind him. So he lets Kai come close and then passes to Ortega and immediately moves out wide to give an option on this side. Both Rodri and Kovacic are being marked very tight. Rodri expects Ortega to quickly play to Diaz and so looks towards him to assess his space. Now he sees that Ortega is not playing to Diaz, so he scans this side to check Walker's position because that's the other passing option that Ortega has. Rice looks towards Kovacic and tells Odegaard to mark him. Ortega, instead of playing quickly, decides to slow down the rhythm by holding on to the ball. Rice scans to read where Ortega is going to pass and realizes that Walker's in space. Kovacic scans towards his left back, then looks at his goalkeeper, then scans again to his left back, then scans towards his left wing. Ortega is looking for forward passing options. He holds the ball, waiting for the right option to emerge. Rodri sees Ortega looking that way and so scans to check what might he be looking at. Kovacic now scans towards his right back. Arsenal can see that he has the ball fully under control with easy pass options on either side. They conclude that there's no point in pressing him because if they jump to press him, they'll simply end up vacating passing lanes through midfield. So they hold and move back to stay compact in midfield. Kovacic scans towards his right wing. Then he relooks at Rodri to see what he's doing. See, he has scanned towards the four corners while still facing his goalkeeper. Wow, that's the thing with great midfielders. They keep a picture of the entire field in their head all the time. This allows them to play quickly. Otherwise, if they were to think what to do with the ball after they receive it, then it's probably too late. Ortega thinks about going long but then decides against it. Rodri tells him to play to Diaz. Here, Kai is now beginning to feel restless. He thinks that Ortega has held the ball for too long and that they have allowed Ortega to come up very high. They must press him now. But he can't just vacate his position and run forward. He has to see if the team organization permits him to do it or not. It is with that objective that he scans to check the situation in midfield and concludes that the central area is well covered. He can jump. So he hops sideways to block a passing option to Stones and presses. Odegaard immediately reads that Kai has blocked the passing option to that side, and as a right footed player, Ortega is now very likely to play to this side. He anticipates a pass to Diaz and gets ready to press. Kovacic sees Ortega getting pressed. He knows that he needs to drop to give option. But wait, Kai isn't committed enough yet. Then, just as Kai was committed enough, he drops quickly. You see, the timing of his movement is very important. It's to be done just at the moment that makes opposition jump, but allows you to escape the press just before getting burnt. Kai anticipates Kovacic to play to Stones and turns to run there. But he does it a little too soon. Kovacic sees him move, changes his decision, and plays it back to Ortega. Ball on the way, Rice scans that side to assess Ortega's playing options there. Walker comes back running to occupy his position. Kai scans to check Stones' position to assess if the ball's coming here, because he's giving option on this side. Odegaard scans to check Diaz's position, because he's giving the option on that side. Diaz looks forward, assessing his options if he gets the ball. Ortega looks up to see if he can make that killer pass. Rodri scans back to read what might Ortega be seeing. Unable to find a killer pass, Ortega holds the ball. Rodri scans back again. Rice notices that Kai is too far wide and asks him to come inside. Kai instead wants to press. He scans to check if the midfield is well covered, sees that it is, and decides that he can run up to press. As he jumps to press, he starts by hopping sideways to get Stones and Walker in his cover shadow. Rodri scans and notices Kai rushing up. He notices the space emerging behind him. He hops sideways to get there. Stones can see that the passing lane to him is blocked now. He tells Ortega to play to Diaz. Ortega is again coming under pressure as Kai gets closer, but he holds the ball, baiting Kai to jump. Kovacic again holds his run to allow Kai to commit, and when he sees that Kai is committing enough, he drops quickly. Odegaard realizes that it's coming to Kovacic. He sees his chance to nick the ball with a blindside tackle, and so he charges ahead. Kovacic plays out of pressure with first touch in the direction he was facing and two Stones who were standing in space. Ball on the way, Rodri and Rice both scan quickly to check Walker's position. As those three moved up, Martinelli stayed behind to provide a presence in midfield. Now he too anticipates the ball to come to Walker and so moves out to get closer. He slows down and positions himself in a straight line with Stones. Stones collects the ball on his back foot with a hop and looks up. As the ball bounces off him, Martinelli quickly scans to reconfirm Walker's position. Is he staying there or moving up on the sideline? Rodri too uses this moment to assess his team's defensive structure. He realizes that his two centre backs are very far apart. This is the situation for him to drop between the two centre backs, thereby allowing his two wing backs to move up. Rice also uses this moment to scan and understand his team's defensive organization. Stones looks inwards, so Martinelli quickly scans to check what he's looking at. Odegaard too notices that Stones is looking this way, and so he scans to check where Kovacic is moving. Rodri starts to drop and takes a quick look back to check if he's being followed. He looks back again to check if Rice is following him or not. See how he drops? Always keeping his body oriented towards the ball. Stones doesn't see any clear passing option. He puts his soul on the ball and turns inwards. Now, why did he not play to Walker here? Looks like a good option? Well, it isn't. Imagine if he did play to Walker. What would happen next? No doubt he's in space, but is he in a position to progress the play forward? If he were here, then he could possibly be able to get behind Martinelli if he were to receive the ball on a half turn and immediately dart forward. But in his current position, he can't. Passing the ball to him will likely do nothing more than make it a 1v1 with Martinelli. Why put him in such a situation? That too in our own half. That's why Stones decided to not play to Walker and instead turned inwards. Alvarez was high up. He saw Rodri drop and read correctly that they were a man less in midfield. So he drops in to the space left behind by Rodri. Stones passes the ball to Rodri, and as the ball is on the way, he looks up. Alvarez too uses this moment to look back and check if there's a man on him. As the ball is on its way towards him, Rodri makes a critical scan. Odegaard too scans and notices Alvarez drop. Rice starts getting back to his position in midfield. He can see that Rodri is in just too much space. There's no point in pressing him. He chooses to fall back for defensive organization. Notice how he builds the picture in his head. He looks back to read how his defensive line is organized behind him, then looks back to see what Rodri is planning to do. Rodri takes a big touch, and so he scans back quickly again. He notices Alvarez's movement and wonders to himself where he's going. Alvarez too notices the big touch by Rodri and uses this moment to scan and assess where to move to. Should he move up or should he move horizontally into the space between the lines? As Rodri is about to touch the ball, Rice looks towards him. He also changes his body profile and starts hopping backwards while looking at the ball. Rodri has a lot of space ahead. He carries the ball and looks upfield, trying to spot if somebody is making a run. Between Rodri's touches, Rice scans back to recheck where Alvarez is moving. He realizes that Alvarez is again moving horizontally from behind him, and that Timber seems to be leaving Alvarez and dropping back to his position. That's dangerous. So he asks Timber to mark Alvarez, but Timber has his own problem, Bernardo Silva. If he follows Alvarez any further, he'll leave Bernardo completely free on the right wing. So he continues to draw. Far away from the scene of action, Akanji has noticed the huge space up on the left wing. He wants to make a run there, but Rodri hasn't seen him yet. And then he sees Rodri looking this way. Now he knows that Rodri has seen him, and so he should make that run. He raises his hand and runs at full steam. Saka senses some movement and scans back to check what's happening there. Guardiola too raises his hand to tell Rodri to spot Akanji's run. Rodri looks up and realizes what their intention is. He gets ready to play long. Saka notices that Rodri is playing from above him. He turns to run back on defensive duty. And now we finally see what led to the creation of that space for Akanji to run into. Earlier, when Rodri had dropped between his two centre backs, Grealish had moved inwards to try to add an extra man in midfield. His movement pulled White with him, resulting in creation of that space on the wing for Akanji to run into. This play also shows Akanji's awareness and intelligence. He spotted the space being created but waited for Rodri to look that side and then attacked it at the right moment. Well done, Akanji. Grealish curves his run to get to blind side of White as he runs forward. While the ball is on the way, White scans to check his keeper's position. Alvarez realizes that Akanji is getting in the position to play a low, hard cross behind the defensive line and that he's too far away from being a threat in that scenario. So he picks up pace to dart ahead. Look at the way Akanji collects the ball. He jumps, crouches his body, brings the left foot up, and then relaxes it as he pulls it down to receive the ball with a soft first touch into the space that he was running into. Wow, brilliantly done by Akanji. Immediately after the touch, as the ball gets a little ahead of Akanji, White uses this moment to scan back and check Grealish's movement. This seems to be instinctive with players. As soon as a pass is made, and you know where the ball is going, you can scan to see what else is happening. Or as soon as you anticipate that he'll take two touches, you scan immediately after the first touch. Haaland looks forward to read the defensive organization. Akanji too looks up. This is the right moment for him to send a low hard cross behind the defensive line. Gabriel looks back to check his keeper's positioning. Haaland looks again and notices this pocket of space developing. He would like to attack from here. Akanji looks up again. This is the perfect moment for him to send that low hard cross behind the defensive line. But nobody is making that run, so he decides against it. Well, that's another example of brilliant awareness and decision making from him. Meanwhile, Saliba still thinks that Akanji is about to send that cross. He must intercept it, so he darts ahead. Akanji now needs to devise another plan to send that cross, but Saka's onto him by now. So he slows down for 2 3 steps. That's all a part of his plan. He wants Saka to slow down with him. and then he'll speed up, leaving him behind. White wonders where's Grealish. He's having a hard time looking at both the ball and his mark. And that's why Grealish had moved to White's blind side. Now, just by being behind him, he's troubling White so much. Bernardo on this side is not the quickest, the tallest, or the strongest. So he doesn't get into the thick of these physical contests. Instead, he's preparing to get to the 18-yard line on the far post to try to scoop for second balls. And as we know, the last one to enter the box is often the first one to shoot. Now, on that side, having lulled Saka into a slow rhythm, Akanji bursts into pace and gains a yard on him. Saka keeps up the chase. He knows he can't let him cross. Alvarez expects a cross through here and darts ahead to attack the near post. Gabriel sees him run and panics. He starts to track him. Haaland expects an overhead cross here. Saliba's working exclusively on blocking that low hard cross across the 6-yard box. Right this moment, he anticipates Akanji to hit it and folds his hands behind him. Gabriel here realizes that he's getting dragged too far from the central area where Haaland will attack. He decides that in order to protect the center, he'll have to let Alvarez go. Saka reads that Akanji is about to cross and sticks out his leg to block it. He knew this was going to happen. But as luck would have it, the cross bounces off Saka's leg and is about to fall to the near post. Alvarez thinks he's gonna get a free header. White sees it coming near him and gets ready to clear it. White does amazingly well to clear the ball up and away. Alvarez goes up like, ooh. He realizes what a great chance it was. He was so close. But in dwelling over the past and in giving these expressions, he takes his focus off the match completely for the next few seconds. Bernardo and Timber both chase the second ball. Haaland anticipates a cross and is already moving back and scanning to set himself up in a better position. Akanji runs back to get onside. Haaland moves back to give himself space to charge ahead. Gabriel and White move up to set the offside trap. And as the ball is on the way, Rice scans to check if they are covered to prevent any late runs into the box. Timber thinks that Bernardo is going to send a low hard cross or will shoot towards the goal. He twists to protect his ribs and groin but doesn't take his eyes off the ball and sticks out a leg to block it. Bernardo instead knows that his team's at far post and is preparing to volley it there. But the cross is a bit too heavy. It goes over Haaland and is about to fall to Grealish, who's in space. Saka reads the situation and again comes for the rescue. He knows that Grealish is about to get a free header, so he jumps to challenge for it. And it's this challenge that makes Grealish miss his header. The ball falls to Saka again and he clears it up and wide, out of pressure. His clearance is going towards Diaz. Rodri tells him that there's no pressure on him. As the ball is on the way, notice how Arsenal players push up the offside line. City players too must drop quickly to stay on side. While the ball is on the way, Rodri makes a critical scan. And then one more. Kai knows that he won't be able to win the ball, but still he must put pressure on Diaz. Stones drops to give a safe back pass option. Diaz chests the ball away from Kai and immediately looks back to assist if he's being followed. As the ball is on the way, Kai scans and notices Kovacic and Odegaard running there. He concludes that he need not go there. Then he scans to check where should he move to. He notices that Stones is dropping to provide the safe back pass option. Diaz has space ahead, so he must carry the ball forward. Kovacic understands that Diaz wants to move up, so he starts to drop into his position. But Diaz soon realizes that he can't move up any further. He turns to play back to Kovacic. Walker, on this side, realizes that Stones is alone in defense and that he must drop to provide an option. And while he runs back and as the ball is on the way, he scans this side. Rodri too uses this moment to scan back and read that Kovacic is likely to play back to Stones. Kovacic collects on a half turn with a hop and looks up. He plays it to Rodri, who's in space. Rodri plays it back to him in first touch. Now, why did he play it back in first touch and not turn himself? He has space to turn, so why did he not? It's because we can see from this angle that he has space to turn. But he doesn't have the eyes in the back of his head. He needs to scan to know what's behind him. And he hasn't scanned behind him in the last few seconds. Thus, he doesn't know if he has the space to turn or if an opponent is right on him, ready to nick the ball off him. And since he doesn't know that, he shouldn't try to do something that will make him lose the ball. That's the reason he plays it back to Kovacic in first touch. Kovacic collects on back foot with a hop. Odegaard is pressing up on him. So Rodri has to move back to stay in space. He scans to check what is Kai doing. Kai scanning towards stones, expecting the ball to be played to him. Kovacic again plays to Rodri. They are playing passes between themselves to try to taunt Arsenal players into jumping to press them, thereby vacating their places and opening passing lanes between them. But Walker isn't too impressed with this tiki taka nonsense. He's like, hey, pass it to me. Look, I'm in space. Odegaard's had enough. He jumps to prevent a pass back to Kovacic, and in doing that, he's opened a passing lane to Akanji. But he reads quickly that Rodri is in a lot of space now. He can't allow him to lift his head up and choose his passes, so he jumps to press. Now, Rodri could have easily played to Akanji there. But as a playmaker, he isn't just thinking of making the next pass. He's also thinking of what will Akanji do next after he receives the ball. He sees that Akanji is standing with a backward facing body profile. In that profile, even if he does get the ball, he can only play backwards, and that he isn't even asking for it. So Rodri concludes that he shouldn't pass to him. How about a switch? Can I switch the play? He drags the ball back, turns, and looks up towards this side. His turn forces Partey to change the direction of his press, thus giving him a few more moments on the ball. Rodri spots Bernardo and switches the play. See, that's the benefit of wingers staying wide. It allows the central players to switch the play from crowded areas to free areas. But why didn't Rodri play a safe back pass here to Walker? It's because Walker is providing a back pass option while Rodri is looking for a forward pass option. He will play to Walker if he can't find a forward option or if he needs to release the ball quickly. Otherwise, he'll keep the ball and play forward. All players start to move to this side. Notice where Timber was positioned. He's the right back and is tasked with covering Bernardo. However, since the play was on that side, he had moved into a more central position to make the defense compact. Also, Bernardo has been standing so wide on this side that he wasn't a threat at all. Now, however, as the ball moves towards Bernardo, he rushes out to close him down. Now get ready. You're about to witness a wonderful sequence of play. Here we go. Bernardo receives the ball on the outside of his left foot with a hop. He starts to drag the ball forward. Timber does really well to hold Bernardo at just the right distance, close enough to not allow him to lift his head up and choose his passes, and also far enough so that Bernardo can't cut him and run in behind. Also, look at his body posture, slightly crouched so that he can spring to action quickly, sideways profile so that he can keep moving backwards without taking his eyes off the ball, hopping sideways in a cross-legged motion to match Bernardo's rhythm, showing Bernardo to run outside away from the goal, and positioned just slightly ahead of Bernardo so that he can use his body to step across and break Bernardo's run should he try to flick the ball behind and run to it. Bernardo must be thinking, I can't cut him unless he lunges. I can't push the ball behind and run because he's already 2 yards ahead of me. Hmm. Let's first get him to follow my rhythm and then we will see what can be done with him. Walker sees that there is a big space behind them to attack. He runs full steam to get there. Now, as a wingback, he can either overlap or underlap. However, in this situation, an overlapping run will take him more time than he has, so he makes an underlapping run. Timber is tracking Bernardo well. But as good as he is, he's about to get exposed to the awesomeness of Bernardo Silva. Bernardo is intentionally making Timber follow his rhythm. Also notice how both his feet are in the air when he touches the ball. This makes his touches softer and helps keep the ball close. Also notice the difference in stride lengths. Bernardo's taking short, quick steps, whereas Timber is taking long, big steps. Martinelli is doing his defensive duty and is ready to cover should Bernardo cut behind Timber. He's suddenly alarmed by something coming at him like a bullet train. It's Kyle Walker. Bernardo, on the other hand, by now has Timber fully hypnotized into following his rhythm. He suddenly takes a bigger step and, tada, cuts inside. Timber reacts quickly, but still Bernardo does it so unexpectedly that he gains a yard over him. Now notice how Bernardo timed his cut with the exact moment that Walker appears on the scene and drags Martinelli with him, freeing up space for Bernardo to cut in. He gets ready to curl the ball to far post, arms wide for balance, a high back lift to generate power and curl. Grealish and Haaland, who had moved blindside of their markers, anticipates a cross to the far post. They are ready to charge ahead and head it. But then, because of Timber's marking, Bernardo has not been able to look up. So he doesn't really know the options that he has there. So instead, he cuts back again. Ta-da! Fooling Timber a second time. Again, notice the difference in stride lengths. Shorter strides allow Bernardo to change direction and to maneuver the ball quickly. Longer strides from Timber help him cover more distance quickly but make him take more time to change direction. Bernardo fools Timber a second time and attempts to run through here. But he realizes that Martinelli is blocking his way and that Walker's offside. Now another opportunity arises for him to cross to the far post, but under pressure from Timber, he isn't really aware of the options there. He can't dribble through here either because this way is blocked by Martinelli. He can't pass to Walker either because he's offside. So, without any option, he decides to hold the ball and wait to see what happens next. Walker's running back onside quickly. Rodri reads that Bernardo's in a 2v1 situation. He should drop to give him an option. But Kai's marking him closely and nullifies his run. Martinelli hops and gets a bit closer to increase the pressure on Bernardo. He's careful not to jump into first time tackle. Bernardo feels the pressure and turns inwards to shield the ball. Martinelli senses danger. He thinks that Bernardo is about to pull a revolving door on him. He uses his hands to hold him in check. Bernardo feels the increasing pressure. He was waiting for Walker to get onside so that he can lay it off to him. Notice that this is almost a disguised pass. He's looking here but playing there. Also notice the angle and the weight of his pass. It's so perfect that Walker can run and cross it with his first touch. This is what is called technical empathy. What it means is that your pass to your teammate should be such that allows him to do his next action easily and quickly. Now notice Rodri's awareness. He immediately realized that Walker doesn't have a safe back pass option and moves to provide one. Timber reads the play and moves out to close the possibility of a cross, but is more careful this time. He knows that he must avoid first time tackle. He can see that Walker is going to reach it first. So his intention is to give space to Walker to cross, but stick a leg out and block it. Walker attempts a first touch cross, and Timber sticks out his leg and blocks it. But the ball bounces off him and falls to Walker again. As Walker charges to the ball, Bernardo anticipates that Walker's gonna lay off to him. And while the ball is on the way, he scans quickly to assess his space and time. Martinelli, on the other hand, thinks that Walker's gonna attack himself. So he moves to close him down. Walker, however, plays back to Bernardo. Rodri is telling Bernardo to play back to safety and retain possession. But Bernardo sees that it's a 2v2. He can attack. With that intention, he takes his first touch opposite to Martinelli's momentum. And although he took it with a hop, the touch is just a tad too heavy. Martinelli and Timber see the ball bounce off him. They think they can reach the ball and clear it, so they charge. Timber lunges into a first-time tackle with a big step. Bernardo, on the other hand, had been taking a lot of short steps. He pulls a la croqueta and beats Timber. This is what happens when a player goes into a first-time tackle. And this is the benefit of taking a lot of short steps when you are in a tight situation, because it gives you better maneuverability. Both Martinelli and Timber run to close down Bernardo. Timber loses his shoe, but carries on. Now Bernardo is trapped. He is in a 2v1 situation with no forward option. Now pay attention and notice how he's going to do so many things in one smooth movement. He stops his run suddenly with a big step, changes his body profile with a hop, and flicks the ball with the outside of left foot without even looking at it. He plays back to Walker and immediately runs to drop. Martinelli and Timber move up to close Walker down. Also, what can't be seen in this frame is that as soon as Bernardo passed the ball backwards, entire Arsenal backline has shifted up, thus playing Bernardo offside. Walker has no other option but to play backwards to Rodri. Kai closes him down quickly, and so he plays backwards to Stones. Every backwards pass by City is an opportunity for Arsenal's backline to push up the offside trap. City players consequently have to drop to stay on side, and thus they are being pushed far and far away from the goal. Stones looks up as he receives the ball. Now, this is a sign of great technical quality. He's receiving the ball without even looking at it. This also shows that he can scan much earlier and so he can read the situation before others. This is a player who will always appear faster than others because he can do things earlier than them. And it is his great technical ability that has made him faster. He sees Kovacic, who has positioned himself in the gap and is asking for the ball. Odegaard holds his position to block forward passing lanes through midfield. If he jumps and gets cut, he'll end up vacating space in a dangerous area. Kai too moves to come in close towards the center of the field to block forward passing lanes through midfield. Rice sees Kovacic in space and with a clear passing lane to him. He thinks that it's gonna come to him, but he's too far to get ahead and intercept that pass. He instead aims to prevent Kovacic from turning with the ball. Kai suddenly catches Stones looking the other way. He thinks he can nick it from blindside and so charges on. But this is all a part of Stones' deception. He's making Kai think that he's looking the other way. He knows exactly what Kai is thinking of doing and is waiting for him to jump. As soon as Kovacic sees Kai charging ahead, he knows that it's gonna come to him. But he hasn't scanned behind, so he can't turn with it. He must release it in first touch the way he's facing. With this thought, he scans to check where's Rodri. And that's what happens. As Kai commits, Stones quickly flicks the ball to Kovacic with the outside of his right foot. Kovacic plays first touch to Rodri, who's in space. While the ball is on its way, players scan to read where it might go next. Rice sees that Alvarez is in space. He also sees the gap to make the pass to him. He moves to close him down. See, that's brilliant game reading by him. He's not only aware of Rodri's position as the ball travels to him, but also of where Rodri is going to play next. Kai comes in to occupy space in the center. Walker tells Rodri to play to Bernardo, who's in space on the wing. But Rodri is looking ahead. He knows that a backward pass from Kovacic was the trigger for a third man run. He's trying to find who's making that run. But nobody's made that run. So he holds the ball for a while and notices that Kovacic's dropping into space that Kai's vacating. Odegaard on that side also notices that Kovacic is dropping and that Rodri's seen him. He anticipates that the pass is going to come here, and so he charges on, thinking that he can win the ball with a blindside tackle. Now, here's the mysterious case of the man who seems to have eyes at the back of his head. Notice closely. Kovacic has his back towards Odegaard, but somehow he is exactly aware of it. He knows that Odegaard thinks that he hasn't seen him charge from behind, but it's all a part of his deception. He's making him think that he hasn't. As he receives the ball, he takes it on the back foot but doesn't really take a half turn. He continues to show his back to Odegaard, inviting the press. And just as Odegaard's about to reach him, at the very last moment, he pushes ahead. escaping the press. And not just that, he's suddenly opened space for himself to charge ahead. Look at the way he charges. Keeps his weight on the left foot as he places it flat, then places the right foot on toe, places the left foot flat with full weight on it, hops and touches the ball with the right foot, places the right foot down on toe and orients his body slightly towards left, thereby making Rice think that he's gonna go that side. Then again places his entire weight on left foot as he places it flat and opens his hips and shifts his body profile towards his right. Rice had moved that side. Now he thinks that Kovacic is going to go this side, and so he hops to this side. His charge has pinned Rice and Party square in their positions. Then he places his right foot on toe and again puts full weight on the left foot as he places it flat. As Rice lunges to this side, a gap appears and Kovacic flicks the ball with his right foot through this gap to Haaland. This time he places his right foot flat and immediately twists to run into a diagonal, expecting to play a 1-2. On the other side, Grealish had dropped into space and was asking for the ball. But this is the moment for Kovacic to go for the kill, not to pass it backwards. Bernardo realizes that this is a short passing touch and move play and that he's standing too far and too wide. So he comes in to get closer. Haaland was standing sideways, expecting a through ball to run in behind. But this play from Kovacic, expecting him to play 1-2, caught him unawares. He tries, but is unable to control the ball. As the ball spills, Alvarez tries to run to it, but Timber extends his arms and blocks his run. Bernardo was expecting something like this. He attacks to get the second ball. Haaland thinks Bernardo will reach the ball first. He charges, expecting a cross behind the defensive line. Gabriel looks up and knows that he will reach the ball first. Rodri appeals for a foul over the way Timber blocked Alvarez, but the ref isn't listening. Gabriel releases the pressure by clearing it out. But look at Bernardo's awareness and anticipation. He's exactly aware that there is a gap here to pass to Martinelli and anticipates that Gabriel may try to play through here. So he shifts quickly to block a pass through here. This is what makes Bernardo such an amazing player. The speed with which he shifts his thinking from attack to defense and from defense to attack is mind blowingly fast. Kai reads that Gabriel is clearing the ball long. He turns to get to it, but it's too far from him and Stones will reach it comfortably. City players drop to give option. Stones thinks that Kai's coming in very quickly and that since he's the last defender, he must not take risks. So he looks up to check Ortega's position if he needs to play it backwards. As his touch is a heavy one, Kai uses the moment to scan and check if his team are pressing up or not. He realizes that they are not, so he concludes that he must not jump to press and would rather stay to provide cover in midfield. While running back, Stones scans to check Diaz's position to assess if he has the space and time to receive a pass. Diaz has been falling back quickly to provide option. He sees Stones take a heavy touch and so scans quickly to confirm if anybody is pressing him from behind. Rodri tracked back into his position at the head of the triangle. He asks for the ball as he scans to confirm his space and time. And then the cameraman chooses to show us Timber's lost shoe. He too knows that the ball's securely in City's control and nothing unexpected is going to happen with it. So this is his scan. As we come back to the match, we see that Rodri is carrying the ball into the space ahead. Look at the way it's done. He's in a hop with both feet in the air as he gently pokes the ball forward. He's not even looking at the ball as he runs with it. Kovacic drops to get away from Odegaard and hops sideways, keeping a front-facing profile as he asks for the ball. Alvarez sees the gap and the space. He drops asking for the ball there. Odegaard raises his hand and asks Kovacic to play the ball out so that their teammate can get his shoe. Kai too raises his hand asking for the same. Saka stayed back to keep the midfield compact. Now, as he sees that the ball is going towards Akanji, he knows that he is the nearest man and must move up to press. Ball on the way, everybody scans. Grealish is getting wider to give an option. Saka slows down as he closes in on Akanji. He wants to press but avoid getting into a first-time tackle. Grealish now drops to give option. White closes him down so as not to allow him to turn with the ball. His intention is just to press him enough to prevent him from running in behind or from looking up to pick and choose his passes. He's done his job as long as Grealish can only pass backwards. As Diaz receives the ball, Rodri is in his position and scans to assess his space in time. Rice is determined to not allow Rodri to turn with the ball. Odegaard raises his hand again to ask for the ball to be played out. Kovacic asks him why. He doesn't know that Timbers lost his shoe. While they're discussing this, Diaz faces this way. So Rice quickly scans to see what's he looking at. Kovacic and Rodri raise their hands as if to say, why? What happened? Why should we stop the play? City doesn't like it, but that's right sportsmanship to play the ball out to allow Timber to get his shoe. So Kovacic plays it out. Odegaard gives Kovacic a high five, acknowledging the sportsmanship. And Timber jogs back to get his shoe. Well, that's the end of part 2. I hope you found it interesting. See you in part 3.